is the manifestation of God. जो कुछ हम देख रहे हैं वो उसी का मैनिफेस्टेशन है, और उस क्रिएटर की दी हुई अक्ल से हम ये बात सोच रहे हैं और इस पर डिस्कशन कर रहे हैं कि खुदा है या नहीं। ये उस खुदा के बड़े होने का और खुदा होने का सबूत है कि उसने हमको इतनी आजादी दी है कि हम उसके बारे में बात कर सकते हैं, उसके बारे में बहस कर सकते हैं, उसके अस्तित्व को नकारने की आजादी भी उसने दी है, और इस फ्रीडम को, इस आजादी को उसने हमेशा ऊपर रखा है। धन्यवाद।
स्वामी अग्निवेश।
खुदा की बात हो रही तो मुझे शायर याद आया। कहता है, खुदा के बंदों को देखकर, खुदा के बंदों को देखकर खुदा से मुनकिर हुई है दुनिया, अलग हो गई। खुदा के बंदों को देखकर खुदा से मुनकिर हुई है दुनिया, कि ऐसे बंदे हैं जो खुदा के, वो कोई अच्छा खुदा नहीं। हम बात तो करते हैं खुदा की, लेकिन खुदा या गॉड या ईश्वर और अल्लाह, उसका स्वरूप सचमुच में हमारे सामने क्या है? Most of our life we have been worshipping false gods. That is the God we are introduced through these organized religions, churches, mosques, whatever. The so-called religions. Organized religions, they give us a concept of God, which is highly man-made God. खुदा, ईश्वर, अल्लाह, परमात्मा, वाहिगुरु जिसको भी हम कहते हैं, उसको हम सचमुच में जानना चाहें, पहचानना चाहें, उसको अपनी जिंदगी में उतारना चाहें, दोस्तों, तो उसके लिए हमें अपने अंदर जाना पड़ेगा। मैं कौन हूं? इंसान, यदि हर इंसान अपने अंदर जाकर के केवल हु एम आई इसको ही तलाशने की कोशिश करे, तो उसको पता लगेगा कि मैं तो अपने शरीर को भी चलाने वाला, इस छोटे से 3.5 हाथ के शरीर को चलाने वाला भी मैं नहीं हूं। मैं सृष्टिकर्ता कैसे हो सकता हूं? हाउ कैन आई बी क्रिएटर? तो मैं इतना अपने आप को जानना, सेल्फ रियलाइजेशन लीड्स यू टू गॉड रियलाइजेशन। जब हम ये बात कहते हैं तो इसलिए कहते हैं कि सच्चाई की तरफ बढ़ो। वेदों में आया है, एकम सत विप्रा बहुधा वदंती, ट्रुथ इज वन, वाइज पीपल कॉल इट बाय डिफरेंट नेम्स। अब इस वन स्ट्रोक many things have been cleared. And what is that? That there is one God. La ilaha illallah. बहुत सही कहा कैसरा जी ने और हमारे दोस्तों ने। लेकिन मैं एक बात और कहना चाहता हूं, यदि गॉड वन है, एक है, तो वो क्या है? वो ट्रुथ है। ट्रुथ, लव, कंपैशन एंड जस्टिस, उसकी जो एक वास्ट एनर्जी पूरे कायनात में, पूरे यूनिवर्स में है, वही गॉड है। गॉड का कोई रूप नहीं हो सकता। गॉड निराकार है। ईश्वर सर्वशक्तिवान, सर्वव्यापक, निराकार सत्ता है। और इसलिए ऐसे गॉड को, जो हमें मंदिर, मस्जिद, गुरुद्वारों में बताया जाता है कि इतना नारियल फोड़ो तो इतना प्रसाद दो तो ये सब कुछ होगा, ये मेरे दोस्त जो बताया अभी जावेद अख्तर साहब ने, कि वो जो बार्गेनिंग हो रही है, सुहेल सेठ जी ने जो बात कही, मैं उससे सहमत हूं। लेकिन हम ट्रुथ को गॉड मानते हैं। यदि अरे ये तो पहली वार्निंग है कि दूसरी वार्निंग? नहीं, अभी तो 2.5 मिनट हुए थे।
सर, मैन हैज रिप्लेस्ड गॉड।
मैन हैज रिप्लेस्ड गॉड।
It is now time for our debaters to now. The first warning is at 2 minutes 30 seconds. Yes, there was one. आपने सुना नहीं? जोर से कर देंगे. We are now going to ask our debaters to refute each other's comments. I'm going to start with Javed Saab. No, Javed Saab, start. We'll go like this. Javed Saab, Richard, Suhel.
You see what?
It's on.
what happens that, hello, is it on?
Yes.
Okay. I almost have to swallow it. You see, people tend to romanticize things, make it very poetic when we are discussing pure reason and reality. The question is, God is truth. Anybody would say truth is good thing, but I don't call truth God. So it doesn't mean that I don't believe in truth. Ultimately, the traditional God is the creator. He has made the universe. He is watching you all the time. And one day he will take hisab from you. Oh, so that day you had done this, and that day you had done that. Otherwise, the other God will give you another life in an inferior species. Like if you are very bad, you will become a cockroach. But then I have no idea how you will come up again, because I have no idea what is a good cockroach. The fact is, they say that how can this universe come into existence? How can there be so many finer things, complicated instruments, like brain, a computer, and so on and so forth? Do you think all of it is made without a creator? But why do you stop on the next station? The train should go further. The next logical question, according to your logic, should be from where the God has come. Where the creator is even more complicated. So how did he come? No, he was from ever. If he was forever, then universe can be forever. What is the problem? It means things can be forever.
Super.
This concept of God is not discovered by some genius. It has been given to you by people who did not know whether the earth is flat or round. All the religious books of the world together tell you how to make a universe in 4 easy lessons, but can't tell you how to make a bicycle. So that is what God has told you. Whatever you have in this world at the moment is created by human beings, and against the will of the people who believed in God. Thank you.
Richard.
Well, I've been asked to try to refute the arguments of the other side. Is this thing on?
Yes.
Yeah. No?
Yes.
The only two arguments that I seem to hear on the other side, most of them are on this side. The only arguments I heard on the other side were the whole universe has been created by God, and the impression was given that you only have to shout that loud enough, and it's got to be true. What we need, of course, is evidence, and there is no evidence. We don't have to provide evidence that there's no God. The onus is on people who think that there is something to show that that something exists. Now, the argument, the infinite regress argument we've just had, and that is absolutely, I was glad to hear the applause from the audience acknowledging the force of that argument, the who created the creator argument. What I don't understand is why we get these great cheers from the audience for that, and yet people still go on believing in God. Why do you do it? Now, the other, you don't, I'm glad to hear it, good. The only other argument that I heard was, I couldn't bear to live without God. Well, I'm sorry, but the universe doesn't owe you consolation. If there is no God, that's just too bad. If you are going to die and die forever and never be raised from the dead again, that's just too bad. You have to face up to the evidence. It's no good appealing to what you'd like to be true. Oh, I thought I'd try Buddhism. Oh, that didn't work, so I thought I'd try Christianity. That didn't feel quite right for me, so I thought I'd try Islam. It doesn't matter what feels right to you. What matters is what's true, and the only way to decide true is to ask, what is the evidence? That is the only way to decide what is true.
First demolishing Swami Agni, I think Dr. Engineer's argument. He said every person is the creator of God and God is manifested in that person. So why did we create so much of a ruckus about Rushdie? He's also a creation of God. We just allowed him here. The second point which Swami Agnivesh made and made well was that, oh, you know, this universe, people need to be happy. We need to invoke God. God is there amongst us and God is true. That he surely doesn't exist in India's parliament. He certainly wasn't there in the Commonwealth Games. He's certainly not there in most of our legislatures. So the reality is, God is a convenient crutch for people who don't want to take responsibility for their silliness. That is the reality. The reality is, God is a convenient tool to abuse and employ when you have no other justification for your insanity or your madness. To therefore incite communalism and violence in the name of protecting a particular God just proves two things. One, your God is made of feet of clay because he's so fragile that he can be disrupted so easily. And the second is that you don't well do anything about it. What do we do? I mean, I think man has replaced God brilliantly. He has forced us to go on a diet. He's forced us, okay, woman, man, I'm cool with either, you know, really doesn't care. I mean, if you look at India, it is a woman in more ways than one. So, I have no issues. Invoke whoever you want, but don't place your gods on our weak shoulders. We want to be responsible for our actions, for our deeds, and we don't need a God for validation or for support. In God, we rest. Everything else is left.
Aruna?
Actually, we've been victims of so many false dichotomies. We've listened to so many false battles. I've lived for 65 years in India, from partition to now. Looked at all the communal battles we've had and the reasons that are given, and I'm not convinced there was any need to fight. This also led to an extraordinary kind of self-righteousness which has gone beyond religion. It's now there in politics. It's now there in discussions. No one wants to listen to anybody else. Everyone thinks they are right. And that self-righteousness is harmful to people in general. And where is the root of all this? I think there are many versions of the truth, Swamiji. We don't all agree as to what is the truth. In recent times, Swamiji and I have been on two sides, seeing truth very differently in public life. So the point is, what is truth is itself a fundamental question. But basically, I think religion plays on fear. Fear of the dead, fear of death, fear of illness, fear of sorrow, fear of hate, fear of jealousy and anger. And because I'm a victim of all these things, it tells me that the only way to cure that is by going to a God. And I don't believe it. Because by going to a God or a temple or a mosque or a church, it doesn't go. So therefore, it is a greater understanding of myself that will solve these things. And also a social understanding. As a woman, I believe that these issues must be discussed in collectives. We must state our fears and we must deal with them, as we did partly in that interesting session we had on Rushdie. And that's the only way to understand how to go ahead with life, not to go and break coconuts in a temple or light candles in a church or go and tie strings in the dargah in Ajmer. I think we need a far tougher version of self-evaluation and understanding than going to these places. So as a woman, I feel that it's important that we think in collectives and think about real issues and state it in the public domain, which we don't. And that's why religion gets a hold on us.
Ashok?
जावेद साहब ने अभी ये सवाल उठाया कि अगर सृष्टि जो है वो सृष्टा ने बनाई है तो सृष्टा को किसने बनाया, ये सवाल उठता है। और नासदीय सूक्त में इस सवाल को उठाया गया है। वहां ऋषि जो है वो कहता है जब पहले कुछ नहीं था, न था न नहीं था, न अंधेरा था न उजाला था, न मौजूदगी थी न गैर मौजूदगी थी, तब क्या था? तो फिर कहता है हो सकता है उसे पता हो जिसने ये सारा ब्रह्मांड रचा है, यहां तक तो ठीक है। फिर आगे कहता है हो सकता है उसको भी पता न हो। तो और हमारे यहां तो ब्रह्म पहले एक था, फिर 2 हो गया, फिर 3 हो गया, अब तो हिंदुओं के 33 करोड़ देवता हैं। एक जमाने में हमारी जनसंख्या से ज्यादा बड़ी थी हमारी देव संख्या।